Hello, everyone, and welcome live to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the Stay Tuned Sports Series. I am Peter Short, and alongside me is Andre Grand-Bush. And Andre, you got to get your kind of your fingers together, your thumb, your index finger, your middle finger, and just put them together up in the air. We're in Italy here tonight, and it is absolutely beautiful watching these cars race around the famed Monza racetrack.
Yeah, Monza is definitely an iconic location and a very unique road course. It's kind of largely known for its high-speed straightaways and very slow-speed chicanes, but there's more to it than that. You got some sweeping corners. You got some actually relatively high-banked corners as well. So a little bit of variation as they are going to navigate this circuit, and relatively long lap times for a stock car. Minute 53, top of practice, is going to be Philip Scott right ahead of Bryce Hoffman with a 155.2. So, really we're averaging, you can see most of the board between 155s and, 158s. And then you've just got Philip Scott in a class of his own there. So, 35 laps seems pretty quick, but it's going to take these guys a while to wrangle around this circuit. And it's pretty fun because it's a combo you just don't see that often, Peter.
Yeah, no, it is definitely not a combo you see very often. And I think actually the iRacing Cup Series went here, and that's probably one of the reasons why this made it onto the schedule, is they already had a setup kind of made for it. So we're watching Steven Lashinsky right now, top 5 on the speed chart, sitting in 5th right now. So we watch him working his way through the different corners here and through the Ascari corners, and now heading down to the famed Parabolica at the end of this straightaway, and then on to what is the longest, or was at least at one point, the longest straightaway in all of Formula One back in the day. I think where Juan Pablo Montoya, former NASCAR driver, back when he was in Formula One, set the highest speed a F1 car has ever gone in competition. So right down this long straightaway before you get into the braking point. Let's see if we can ride on board with Lashinsky. He's got Monster Jam on the hood. Might be monster jamming over some of these curbs here tonight, because some of them are a little bit high. You see right now getting up, I was going to see what the top speed was there before he gets into the braking point, but all the way down to 41 miles an hour to lug this heavy beast, Andre, through the first set of corners and then back up through the gears. Third gear now, going to shift up into 4th right about, well, I was going to say right about now. There we go, finally up into 4th gear as they go through this sweeping corner. And then you go kind of into this chicane right here. You got to watch out for those curbs. You see those gigantic big curbs right there? I'm sure we'll see some drivers hop those here tonight as Lashinsky works his way through. Good job here. I'll tell you what, he's been keeping it pretty clean, Andre.
Yeah, he's on a pretty good lap right now and definitely keeping it clean. Those curbs are the devil. There's one of those banked corners that I mentioned. You can take it a little bit quicker than you'd expect, but you don't want to take it too quick, because if you jump over that banking, it's nothing but sand that's going to be greeting you. So after that double right-hand complex there, then it's going to be yet another chicane at the end of this fairly long straightaway. A lot of trees and shade cover to keep the track temps cool, which is nice because you're going to be heavy onto the brakes right about there under the bridge. It's going to be a sharp left and then a sweeping right. It's a pretty unique chicane in the grand scheme of things, because then you're right back to the left and down what is going to be another long straightaway with a very long sweeping final corner of the track that he's quickly approaching. And yes, Juan Pablo Montoya, fastest overall speed for a lap on a sanctioned F1 track, at least at the time. The record has been broken since then, of course, also at Monza later on. But yeah, it just goes to show you how quick this track is as practice winds down and Lashinsky sort of forcibly pulled out of the track as they're going to be gritting up for qualifying.
Yeah, these drivers will be appearing from behind the big green wall. That's what you have here. So I think that's Thad Miller finally getting rolling. There's Steven Lashinsky. Let's see if we can highlight one of these other drivers. Here's William Ratcliffe in the number 95, working his way out there onto the track. They'll get 2 qualifying lap times in here in just a little bit, as they do get 10 minutes of qualifying time. Andre, they might need it here tonight with those 2-minute or so lap times, give or take a couple of seconds. Ratcliffe out there on the track. Here is the fastest man so far this season, Andre. It is Adam Newton. 3 races, 3 wins for the number 4 machine on 3 very different racetracks. We started off the season at iRacing Super Speedway, then got the win at, was it Chicagoland, if I recall correctly, and then got the win last week at what is the St. Louis Gateway Worldwide Technology Raceway Park, whatever you want to call it. But this man is on a mission to try and go 4 for 4 in the number 4 machine.
Yeah, we'll see if he can do it. It's definitely a different location. Again, the first road course of the year, so we'll see exactly how prepared for a road course Adam Newton is. He was doing pretty good in practice. I believe he was 4th or 5th on the board, so posting decent times. And the thing about a road course is it's not always going to be the fastest car that wins the race. Sometimes it's the car that makes the fewest mistakes, because you come to these road courses and, well, it all adds up, and they offer a lot of opportunities to make mistakes, and they can be very punishing. So going to have to focus on consistency as well as speed. As we swivel the cam back, take a look at Adam Newton working the wheel down that very long straightaway into this sweeping right-hander. And I'll tell you what, the final corner, it looks like one of the easier corners on the track, but I was watching a few of these drivers practice, and maybe as a quirk of the setup which was chosen for tonight, which is basically just the stock Road America setup, the car is kind of bottoming out a little bit on the higher speed corners. So that corner right there and the sweeping corner after the first chicane, the car bottoms out and then it gets really loose. So they're going to have to be aware of that all night long. There's Thad Miller in the 81. He's coming to, I believe, complete his first flying lap. And he's going to be posting a time next time by. As again, the outlap is going to take them quite a while. And I think tire temp is going to be huge here. As speaking of tire temps, how about smoking them, going monster jamming over the curbs? Invalidated lap there, but tire temps are going to be really important here, because cold tires are going to be about a second a lap slower, if not more, than tires that have some heat in them. There's Bryce Hoffman in the number 21 machine. I love that profile picture. He's.
I think there's a few facial features possibly missing there, Bryce. I mean. You got no eyebrows.
It makes him official,
He's got the headset. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like me right now. I got the headset on, not much else. But Bryce Hoffman in the number 21, working his way. I think he's got that liquid death. Now, I've seen that stuff out there, like Walmart, that liquid death. I'm like, wow, that stuff must be like an energy drink. It's just water.
Yeah, it's just water.
It's just water. It's the most flamboyant water I've ever seen in my life. Kind of just like this kind of odd dichotomy, kind of just like Bryce Hoffman's profile picture there.
Yeah, well, Bryce actually explained something to me about that liquid death. I didn't really know what it was either. I had assumed it was vodka. But he said that the company is owned by Wiz Khalifa. And the reason they call it liquid death is because statistically, and I'm not making this up, 100% of the people who drink water die, so they thought that was a good name, and here we are today.
Not wrong. Also, 100% of the people who drink or who breathe air also end up liquid, or not. I guess it's technically a fluid death. Whatever. But right now, Adam Newton was currently top of the board, but that is no longer the case as he locks it up in turn number 1. Not a great first lap there, Andre. Just over 2 minutes. We saw drivers down in the low 154s, low to mid 154s, just like Bryce Hoffman put his machine. Philip Scott's out there, and that's not good for the number 99 machine. I'm not sure if that's going to invalidate his lap time, but I think he was coming around to complete lap number 1. Maybe he was just trying to open it up to get a strong run down the straightaway, but I think his first lap has been thrown away. So we'll see here if Philip can find a little bit of space. He was fastest of all in practice just a little while ago. Of course, being top of the charts in practice doesn't really mean anything. Doesn't give you any points, doesn't give you the pole. So you got
bragging rights.
Yeah, a little bit of bragging rights. Yeah, that's about it. As Paul Bilson in the 00 machine works his way through, he's done some road course racing, needs a good rebound tonight. Has really struggled over the last couple of weeks here in the series. I don't think he's really been able to make it past the opening 15 or so laps. Not all of his own doing, but that 00 hoping to keep it in one piece here tonight. Keep it nice and clean. Throw a little tide on it. Here's Steven Lashinsky. We were riding on board with him in practice a little while ago. coming around, I think, to complete his first lap time. Gonna have to pick it up. We got about 4 minutes left here in qualifying. Just enough time for these drivers to get, if they're lucky, 2 full laps in of qualifying. There's Lashinsky flashing across the line, jumps up to second on the board. Brent McKee in the number 29 machine got Red Bull. Kind of got that Formula One vibe on that car. Red Bull Racing there, Andre, as Brent finds himself currently third on the board.
Yeah, obviously, this is a pretty solid track for Red Bull. Although, I guess these days, Red Bull F1, every track is a solid track for them. They seem to be winning quite a bit. But see how it works out for McKee. His first lap was a 1:56.2. Here's Philip Scott on his second lap, trying to go for pole. Far and away the fastest driver in practice. I think as long as he pieces together his lap time here, he should get up to the number 1 spot. Let's see if he lives up to the hype. Philip Scott, Ninja Phil, for the first time in Xfinity, is racing this week, and it is going to be a pole time with a new fast lap, 1:52.9. Peter, he ran a 1:53 in practice, and we all thought that was quite absurd, but then he had to go and outdo it once again. Ninja Phil climbing to the top of the board. There's Lashinsky, I think at this point just running some practice laps. He posted both of his times, I believe. But you can never get too much practice.
No, he's the only driver still out there on the racetrack as well. Everyone else has pulled it in. Garrett Gleason, no lap time. Christopher Pendel, no lap time. William Ratcliffe, also no lap time for those 3 drivers. So we'll see whether or not we get 12 drivers at the start. But let's go on board with Steven Lashinsky here and just get a ride around the joint. And maybe we can swivel around the camera just a little bit as well. As he heads into the Parabolica here, you kind of see that this corner is a long, sweeping corner, and then you try and get the power down out of it. Now, it looks like Lashinsky here is going to try and come down onto pit road. A little bit of an interesting pit road to get onto. You kind of have to go off of the Parabolica and cut it hard to the right as you get a look of the pit lane here. Find your pit box. See how the brakes are for getting on pit road. Andre, I've always liked going into in qualifying or practice because that happens right there. You do that in the race. You maybe overshoot your pit stall just a little bit, but practice is an opportunity for you to get a little bit of practice in and, try and hit your box. Don't just come down onto pit road, but actually try and hit your box. Feel how those brakes are, because we've seen it a couple of times here, not just this season, but in past seasons here in the Stay Tuned Sports Series, that missing your pit box can lose you the race in one fell swoop.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, especially in a race that is going to be relatively short in the grand scheme of things. Again, 35 laps with roughly 2-minute lap times. That's just a little under an hour with the 152, 153 lap bracket. So, you don't want to make any mistakes, but certainly you don't want to make a mistake on pit road because it is such a long pit road, such a long in and out time. And also, that wall, whoever's in the very first stall is going to have a tough time, because I can't tell you how many cars I saw smack that white wall that jets out right at the end of pit road. You don't really expect it to. So, got to keep your eyes open. Make sure you don't do anything you're going to regret on pit road. But 19 seconds left in qualifying. I don't think anybody is going to steal that pole away from Philip Scott in the final seconds. It looks like there are 3 drivers who have opted not to post a time. There were 12 in practice, 9 on the board. So there it's going to be concluded. It is official. Ninja Phil returns to the league for the first time since it became an Xfinity league, and he does it in style. So they're going to be heading to the grid momentarily and get ready to get some road course action underway. There's the grid right there. Philip Scott on pole, Bryce Hoffman to his outside in that 21. Only a 2-second difference between first and second. Brent McKee, the blue flag menace, is going to be third, rolling off alongside Steven Lashinsky. Paul Bilson in the 00 gets a pretty good run in practice, but just a little bit slower in qualifying. Rolls off fifth next to Thad Miller. Adam Newton, 3 for 3 so far, trying to make it 4 for 4. He's 7th. He's next to 8th place, Tom Lester. Jimbo Casterline, league admin, going to be P9, and then we got Garrett Gleason going to be rolling off 10th without posting a time. Running out the rest of the field, because there is only 2 more, Christopher Pendel in that 94 is rolling off 11th, and William Ratcliffe in the 95 is going to shotgun on the field, P12.
So 12 drivers will be getting the green flag here tonight. Let's see if we can bring up tonight's track info for the race here before the field gets rolling. You see, this is the full configuration of the Monza road course, technically Autodromo Nazionale Monza, and it is our only road course this season here in the Stay Tuned Sports Series. Of course, it is in Italy. In fact, in the northern portion of Italy, close to Milan, if you're trying to find where it is on the world map. As you can see, a nice day, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. I wish it was 79 degrees Fahrenheit here in the great state of Texas. It's been pushing 100 to 108 over the past week. Hopefully it starts to cool off a little bit. Looking forward to fall. Definitely, for sure. But that's gonna do it, as the iRacing pace car is going to come around to get the green flag here momentarily. You see the field working their way into the Parabolica for the first time before we go green flag. And we'll go green flag here shortly, here on board with Tom Lester starting back in 8th. Jimbo Casterline, the Stay Tuned Sports Toyota, starting in 9th. Garrett Gleason, haven't seen him yet. He's back there in 10th. Christopher Pendell and William Ratcliffe rounding out our field as the iRacing pace car heads on to pit road. Got a look at the oval there in the backstretch. Yes, this racetrack has an oval configuration. In fact, it played host to my favorite NSRA moment of all time when I absolutely lost it and someone hit the barrier. But green flag is in the air, and Andre, we're racing off towards turn number 1.
And this is going to be the race getting into turn 1. Can we get through it clean? A little bit of tire lockup, but for the most part, all through the field, it is clean and green, even too wide, all the way behind our leader, Philip Scott. 18, Jimbo, a little bit slow out of the gate there, but everybody behind him able to kind of keep their distance and stay safe. So an impressive dive into the chicane. That was definitely the most, that was the thing I was worried about most, Peter, but they did a good job.
Yeah, everyone able to make it through okay. On board here with Bryce Hoffman as Philip Scott starts jumping the curbs, able to get that power down nice and neatly up out of the corner. On board here with Paul Bilson. He has a look to the inside of Stephen Lashinsky here into the first Lesmo, and he is able to, I believe, make the pass. Yeah, indeed. The Tide Ride now up into the 4th position. Move Lashinsky back a spot. Well, I spoke too soon. Everyone's off. Bilson's off. I think Lashinsky is off too. Yep, there's the number 9 machine. And I spoke well too soon. I was just about to say, great start for Paul Bilson, and he threw it all away.
Yeah, unfortunate to make a mistake that early. That seems to be the running trend for Paul Bilson. It seems like the first 5 laps of a race have been his nemesis this year. And, luckily these are not F1 cars, so he was able to get out of the sand and not have too much issues there. But still a lot of time lost. He's now rocking the 9th position, 12 seconds back. And Lashinsky also losing time. He's 7th, 9 seconds back. You got Pendell between those drivers, separating them there. But there's Adam Newton, the talk of the season so far, currently running 4th in that Ford car. He is 5 seconds back from our leader, but decent distance ahead of the cars behind. So kind of off in his own little world right now, not too much to worry about. But the 99, Philip Scott, this guy already out to a massive lead as a battle for second is continuing behind him. Bryce Hoffman and McKee in at 29 have pretty much been attached at the bumper since lap 1, so very similar in pace, and we saw that in practice as well. These two were putting up times on the board which were nearly indistinguishable, so I would not expect these guys to really get away from each other too quickly on track, but there's the difference. 99 through the second chicane, and I'll tell you what, Peter, he is eating those curbs up, and that may be what's helping him to be a little bit quicker. Here comes the number 4. Here comes the 81 of Thad Miller. It's interesting to see, Peter, who uses the curbs, who doesn't, and right now it looks like everybody's using them, but Paul Bilson, he's using the outer curbs, the ones you don't want to use.
Yeah, definitely jumping them just a little bit. Back to Jimbo Casterline. Not sure if Jimbo had a moment or maybe just came to a crawl in turn number 1, but Jimbo down now in the 11th position. Lost 2 spots since the drop of the green flag. Adam Newton has picked up 3, mainly at the demise of Lashinsky and Bilson. But it's been a good start for our 3-time winners so far this year. But here comes Brent McKee all over the back bumper still of Bryce Hoffman. This is going to be a good battle for second. Here as we work lap number 2. Philip Scott has converted that HarpoonDesign.com pole award into that healthy lead that you saw right there. But Brent McKee, right there in the center of your screen, made the move for second, got around Bryce Hoffman. And Andre, that was a good move by the number 29 machine. Looked like he was just being patient and finally able to make that pass right there into the Parabolica.
Yeah, he definitely was waiting for the right opportunity. I think doing it going into a sweeping corner was a smart play, because if you try to pass somebody going into the chicane, you can kind of spook them and kind of make them make a mistake. But the problem is, if you make them overdrive the corner and they just shoot through the chicane, well, they might just tag you on the way out. So the cleanest opportunity to pass is going to be in the more standard turns, and he was able to make that pass in a way which left Bryce quite a bit of room, got Bryce out of the groove, and then from there he was just up into second place, 3.5 seconds back from Philip Scott. There's Adam Newton still losing some time. He was 5 seconds back last time we checked. 8.9 is the difference now, but he's got about 5 seconds over Thad Miller, so starting to see a little bit of separation. But so far, with the exception of just a couple early race mistakes, it's been pretty clean for most of these guys.
Yeah, let's go back to one of those drivers who did have one of those early race mistakes. Steven Lashinsky has caught up to the back bumper, I should say, of Thad Miller. This would be the battle for 5th spot, as Lashinsky qualified in 4th and now running in 6th. Of course, you want to be in the top 8 drivers. We do have a stage here tonight. We aren't expecting to see a stage caution. It's Andre, Jimbo Casterline. It might be an early night for the Stay Tuned Sports machine. The man of Stay Tuned Sports himself here coming into the Curva Biaso. Just low.
Oh,
jeez.
My goodness. He flipped over. I don't know how you do that.
I don't. That is extremely unlucky. Comes out of the Primaverente into the Curva Biaso, and I guess just lit up the rear tires a little bit and slam bam into the wall.
One break in that entire wall, and he found it.
Yeah, I'll say that is extremely unfortunate.
Take another look here. The 3Wyatt TV replay on board this time, the gyro cam. You can see, if you watch the steering wheel, he was loose right about there. Just a little bit late on the correction, and then, boy oh boy, that gyro must be an expensive one, because it is doing its job flawlessly, showing us the tumble that he took, and definitely going to be what I would have to assume to be terminal damage. On the track, though, here's a battle for position. Lashinsky, who did make that early race mistake, has been slowly but steadily climbing his way back up the board. He got around Thad Miller. Now he is up into 5th. He's got Adam Newton about 9 seconds up the road. It's going to be a pretty big gap to close. Now, I do want to remind the viewers at home, I don't think we mentioned it yet, but as he does a little bit of monster trucking in the Monster Jam car, we do have a stage at lap 10, so stage points will be awarded accordingly. There will be no caution. It will be a rolling stage, as done in real life. But just as I say, the number 9 gets the position. He makes a little bit of a mistake, and the 48 right behind them. Going to graze the wall, but able to save himself from what could have been a disaster.
Yeah, we'll get one more look of exactly what happened here to Tom Lester coming into the first Lesmo, or coming out of the first Lesmo. Actually, just, I think, lit up the rear tires a little bit, tried to save it, and just kissed it there off of the Tech Pro barrier out of that corner. So hopefully that's not a lot of damage to the Fox number 48. Did lose a spot in that foray, though, to the 00 of Paul Bilson, who continues to climb up through the field. Christopher Pendell, meanwhile, in the number 94 there, he is just having a little bit of an off-track excursion. He's trying to run down Tom Lester after Lester's issue. Meanwhile, back behind them, there's Garrett Gleason in the number 7. He's wheeling his way through the S's back there. That is the corner known as Ascari. That is the Ascari corner. So William Ratcliffe about to, looks like he's just now reaching the Ascari portion of the racetrack. As, problem with Paul Bilson. There he is. About to say, not sure if he just left the racetrack or having connection issues. I think that's pretty indicative of connection issues as we go back up to towards the front of the field. Here's Bryce Hoffman running in third, Andre. And at least for right now, running behind Brent McKee. Be interesting to see if maybe tires swing one way or another as this run continues to go on. Wow, Adam Newton back there really hitting the curbs.
Yeah, he was eating those curbs for breakfast. But I mean, that's what you got to do. You can't be afraid of those curbs. You can't be afraid to get a little airborne, because if you're going to turn fast laps, that's pretty much required. So he's doing it right. Just has to pick up a little bit of time on the lap and start throwing together a few more clean laps. And he might be able to close in on these drivers ahead. He's not that far back from Bryce Hoffman, about 5 seconds, which in road course terms is definitely a doable gap. And Brent McKee, running second place right now. That is a driver who I noticed in practice was pretty consistent. I was taking a look at his lap times, and he didn't really make that many mistakes. And I said right at the top of the broadcast, sometimes that's what it takes to find success at these road courses. So it doesn't really surprise me that even though Bryce Hoffman might be able to hot lap a little bit quicker than McKee, McKee has been consistently posting just a little bit quicker laps and doing pretty well, although he's still 6 seconds behind Philip Scott, who ironically is maybe costing himself some camera time. He's so far ahead, we can't even see him.
Meanwhile, back here mid-pack, Paul Bilson was actually able to get around Stephen Lashinsky and Thad Miller. Lashinsky finally able to put that pass back on Miller in that number 9 mobile. I think, Andre, what happened to Lashinsky when he just after he got by Miller the first time is we saw him go off course, and he got what iRacing calls a slowdown penalty. He went so far off the course that iRacing said, "Hey, buddy, you have to slow down a little bit and give that position back," and he had to do that. But now he finds himself behind the 00 machine of Bilson, who, Lashinsky spun it around in turn number 1. He's going to have to spin it back around, wait for couple of drivers to work their way on by, gets it rolling finally. Not sure if he stalled it. Took him a little bit there, Andre, to kind of get back moving. But Lashinsky's been really struggling here.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. He was able to post some pretty good lap times in practice, and he had just climbed back inside the top 5 after the first mistake. So, kind of thought he was on his way to recovering. And then as we take a look at the replay, you'll see just getting into the first chicane here. He's got Thad Miller behind him and a little bit too heavy on the brakes. Now, one thing I've heard with these Xfinity cars at road courses is the default brake bias is no good. And if you leave it on the default, you're going to do that quite a bit. You're going to get that rear end kicking out. And so maybe he left it alone. Maybe he didn't have the right adjustment on there. Didn't lock it up by any means. Just drove it in a little bit hot, got on the brakes, and then around it went. The front end squatted down, the rear end got light, and then he was doing some Monster Jam donuts, which, if this were a Monster Jam freestyle competition, I'm giving him a 10. But unfortunately, this is a race, so he's down to 10.
Yeah, I was about to say, also on the replay, Tom Lester had a big incident coming out of the second Lesmo and lost a hood in all of that. So second time we've seen him into the Tech Pro barriers tonight. And let's see if we can get one more look at what happened to Tom. Let's see if we can ride on board with the Fox Chevrolet. Here he goes into the second Lesmo. Everything's looking fine here. Maybe the back end comes out a little bit. Not sure if he shifted up right there and it just broke loose on him, but that's a tough break for him. Now we're also hearing that something has happened to the number 7 machine. That's let's see if we can figure out what happened to Garrett. No? Is it not they're not letting me see what happened? Oh, there we go. He went beaching. Garrett wanted to go to the beach. The Italian beaches in the Mediterranean, and then got onto the grass, and then spun it around. Oh. Garrett, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing there, number 7? Take good care of that number 7. And Comans Care definitely cares a lot more than I think Garrett Gleason does. But at least they do a much better job of taking care of things. But at least for Gleason, he's back rolling in the 9th position for right now. Now, something has also happened to Paul Bilson.
He's back in 11th now, so...
Yeah, I think it has to be connection issues. Absolutely has to be connection issues. We've seen him struggling with connection issues. I believe that the 00's machine must have dropped out of the session, which is a tough break for him because we had seen him climbing back up through the field as Tom Lester, now hoodless, just dipped off into the sand a little bit. Let's make sure he gets through here. This is where he had his problems just a little while ago. Looks like nice and clean this time there, Tom. But up at the front of the field, you're not missing anything. The World Ninja League machine, Philip Scott, of course, had that Harpoon Designs pole award a little while ago and has now scooted himself out to a commanding 14-second lead. But I'm keeping my eyes on the battle for second here, Andre, because I'll tell you what, Bryce Hoffman is not letting Brent McKee get too far in front of him.
No, like I said, in practice, these guys were posting very similar lap times. You see a little bit of lockup out of McKee. Those are the slight mistakes that are going to allow Hoffman to close back in. But also, fourth place Adam Newton behind these guys. You saw him in the back of the frame. He was 5 seconds back from Hoffman at one point. Now it's only about 4 seconds. So he's definitely inching closer. It's just got to be that he's got to continue to lap a little bit quicker, a little bit consistently. But we'll have to see as the battle for second continues. McKee down into the second chicane, getting good momentum, not quite eating up those curves as much that time, maybe trying to play it a little bit safe, and down yet another one of the straightaways into the banked right-hander. You know all the fancy names for these corners. I'm not even going to try. We're just going to call that one the banked first corner in the double right complex. There's the second right-hander, a little bit sharper. You're going to eat up the curves that time, but maybe not in a place where you necessarily want to. And I'll tell you, Peter, the slipstream can come into effect in some of these longer straightaways, and it does have a noticeable difference. It will help you close in a little bit. So I think it's imperative for a driver like Bryce, if you're in a battle like this, to try and stay within drafting distance, even though we're at a road course, because it does give you a little bit of help. But it's been a really good lap for Brent McKee. He's stepped out now. 15 seconds behind the leader for McKee, 18 seconds for Hoffman. So that gap went from 1 second up to 2.5. That is quite a good sequence of turns for that 29. Now into the final corner on the track. He's going to dive it down in. Try to keep that car from bottoming out. Don't want to get too unsettled, but you can see it sliding around. Not really much you can do to counter that as a driver. And Judas Stripe is going to hold on to second for another lap.
Yeah, McKee able to get it just about 2.5 seconds. Do you want to go over to the chat momentarily? Got Maggie Schwab in the chat saying the 00's power went out, bad storm over here in Michigan. So that's the story behind Paul Bilson. Also, we got Jimbo Casterline, Stay Tuned Sports. Of course, it is NFL season here coming up in a hurry. Got preseason games going on, so you'll want to follow along. Make sure to check out Stay Tuned Sports. There is a link to the Podbean in the description. All you have to do is click on the link in the description of the video, and that takes you right to listen to Jimbo and the Stay Tuned Sports crew. So Jimbo confirming that is also saying that he hates road courses. I'll tell you what, I think he got dealt a pretty nasty hand here tonight. Let's go see what's happened. Our good friend Tom Lester, who has been struggling here tonight, coming into the Parabolica. Did something happen here in the Parabolica? Ooh, back end stepped out right there on entry. Did clip the Armco barrier just a little bit, but was able to get it pointed in the right direction. That brake bias really seems to be kind of catching a couple of drivers off guard. Meanwhile, out there on the racetrack, Paul Bilson in the 00 machine having more problems. That was contact there, I think, with Tom Lester. He's blocking pretty much the entire track. Garrett Gleason
nowhere to go.
Coming in there a little bit hot.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he waited so long on the toe there. I mean, he definitely could have got pulled out a little bit quicker. We'll take a look at the replay once again here on 3 Wide TV and maybe try and decipher exactly what started that incident. We caught the tail end of it where he was blocking the track down into the chicane. Slightly cold tires. Tries to swing it out and just got a...
look, that wheel is completely stopped.
Yes,
there,
sir,
Andre.
That is mechanical issues.
That is mechanical issues with his steering wheel and his equipment, and he just kind of stopped right there, probably panicking, trying to get to his keyboard. And Garrett Gleason came in there for a little bit of good measure. So things going from bad to worst for the 00 of Bilson. Meanwhile, Tom Lester is also headed behind the wall. Let's see if we can get... There we go. That's the camera we're going to have to use for pit lane here tonight. So Tom decided to jump to pit road. Let's see if we can figure out what happened. Let's go back on a quick replay here and see if the number 48 did some more damage to the car or maybe just called it quits. Not 100% sure here coming into the second Lesmo. Just went off. And I don't know, that might have been the same thing there on. That's weird. It almost looks like...
It did not look like the wheels were turning.
Let's see if we can see some similar behavior as Tom Lester. He is turning. He is turning, but definitely kind of pointing in the wrong direction. So, yeah. So, anyway, that's, I think, might be it for Tom Lester's night here. As out there on the racetrack, there has been a couple of passes for position. Let's see if we can see what happened here. This is Steven Lashinsky still trying to climb his way back through the field. Racing with Christopher Pendel, who I was just about to say has been kind of steady all night long. Been able to pick up positions that way, but around the outside goes Lashinsky. There's another look on pit road as still a couple of cars sit there. There's your race leader, Philip Scott, who has just recently put William Ratcliffe, the first car running out there on the racetrack, one lap down. As I believe, Andre, we are at the stage caution this time. I think it's on lap number 10, if I recall correctly, here tonight.
Yeah, so the stage is at lap 10, but it will be a rolling stage, so no caution will be thrown. And given the gap between all these drivers is so large, we can pretty confidently say the 10 drivers to get stage points once the 99 crosses the line is going to be Philip Scott, Brent McKee, Bryce Hoffman, Adam Newton, Steven Lashinsky, Thad Miller, Chris Pendel, Garrett Gleason, Ratcliffe, and Lester. Lester getting stage points, not even on the track, so that's something. But yeah, we're starting to see a little bit of separation, and unfortunate for the 00 to have that mechanical failure. And I wondered why he didn't take that tow, and it was probably because he had that button assigned to the steering wheel. And when that failed, obviously you can't tow, so he's trying to get to his steering, his keyboard to get that tow, and depending on where he had it, that might have been easier said than done. So rough night for the 00, rough night for the 48, but come to a road course like this, you're definitely going to see a few drivers have bad days. Riding on board now with Chris Pendel, trying to get around the 81. He's going to drive it in deep to go down low, but he thinks better of it. Track gets real narrow right there, and that could have gone pretty poorly. So backing off, regrouping. Now he's got a few car lengths up to Thad Miller. He's going to have to try to close that gap again. And ahead of these guys, way up the road, is Steven Lashinsky. Well, not way up the road. He's about 2 seconds up the road. Definitely still where they can see him at least, which might give him a little bit of motivation, but a good battle going on nonetheless.
Yeah, this is the closest gaggle of drivers out there on the racetrack as they run. You got Bryce Hoffman still trying to run down McKee, but as you can see, that gap has now expanded to about 5 seconds. It was about 2.5 seconds last time we looked between these two, but Hoffman still kind of keeping everything between the lines. That's what you have to do to at least finish the race. You might not win, but you got to do that to finish. Adam Newton in the number 4 machine there, he is kind of all by his lonesome, about 7 or so seconds behind Bryce Hoffman. And then from Adam Newton, you have to drop back almost a half minute to where Steven Lashinsky's leading that 3-car train. You see, Lashinsky might be having connection issues as well. Not sure if he's from Michigan and is also experiencing storms, much like Paul Bilson was. But here comes Christopher Pendel, slowly closing back in on Thad Miller. Seems like Miller here, Andre, has kind of just been keeping it clean, as has Christopher Pendel. We've seen Steven Lashinsky with his struggles, but on raw pace, Miller and Pendel just don't seem to have the same level of raw pace that Lashinsky has, but they've just made far fewer mistakes in the opening 11 laps.
Yeah, well, not only are they consistent, but I think they are slowly getting better as they learn the track, they get used to the track conditions. Because if we're just going off practice lap times, then Lashinsky should have been pulling away a lot faster because he was posting way quicker times in practice than these two. But here in the race, he's only kind of pulling away at a very slow and steady rate because these guys have gotten faster. They've learned the track, and they've got 23 more laps to continue to improve. So Definitely not a bad situation to be in, and you like to see it. Maybe you come into a race, you're not the best, you're not the fastest car, maybe you don't even know the track that well, but if you can pick up some experience and learn a little bit while you're here, you can apply that later to other road courses, other types of racing, and that's kind of what it's all about, just learning and getting used to it. And they're definitely going about it right. I said in the Discord before the race even started, I said, look, you are going to give up more time driving it in too deep and wrecking than you will ever give up driving conservative. I think if you're not comfortable with the car, if it's an unfamiliar track, it is always better just to underdrive the car and try to play it safe. We do have a replay, possibly something with Brent McKee. Take a look at the 3 wide TV replay down into the chicane. He's going to get on the brakes, up on the curb, and looks good so far. But then he just slows down. That's going to be a slowdown penalty. Luckily, a big enough gap to Bryce Hoffman that it was not enough to lose a position. But that's a good example, Peter, of how fine those limits can be. To me, it didn't really look like he cut the track or gained any sort of advantage. But as far as iRacing was concerned, that is going to be a slowdown. We'll take a look at the super slow-mo, and what you're going to see is 4 tires over the curb right there. 4 tires over the curb by a matter of inches. And the simulator does not discriminate whether it's inches or miles. Hey, you cut the track, you get a slowdown, and he served it right there.
Yeah, it was just enough. I mean, you're right. It was inches between not getting a slowdown penalty and getting it. And unfortunately for McKee, he did pick that up and lost a good chunk of time to Bryce Hoffman back behind him. But he still got that spot. He's still holding on to second here as we're coming to 21 laps to go this time by. Or I think make that 22 laps to go this time by, at least for them, as Philip Scott already into turn number 1, keeping it nice and clean in his Ford Mustang. Did pick up those stage points just a little while ago. Brent McKee, hearing that Brent McKee is on pit road, so first of our lead lap cars to take it. And that makes sense. Looking like maybe a 2-stop strategy here for Brent McKee. Andre, pit on lap number 12, pit on lap number 24, and then you're good to the end. Interesting to see whether or not this is going to work out for him. I'm not sure if the other drivers around him can make it on just like a 1-stop strategy. Maybe they can. Maybe they can. Maybe they can't. Maybe they have to make it a 2-stop strategy. But if it's a kind of a 2-stopper, a lot of the field, I think we'll see here momentarily on to pit road. I kind of like the 1-stop strategy if you can make it there, but if you can't, I'd be doing exactly what Brent McKee's doing right now on pit road. As soon as you can, get those fresh tires, go out there and use them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as far as a 1-stop strategy, I don't believe that's possible, not without some extreme super saving. The upper limit, as far as how far they can go, is going to be about 14 laps on fuel. Given the race is 35 laps, you would have to save about 7 laps worth of fuel. So that's just not going to happen realistically unless you found some sort of exploit in the simulator, or maybe you're just running pace speed for 7 of those laps or more. So it is going to be a mandatory 2-stop strategy for most of these guys. And again, for a lot of them, it's going to be a matter of just taking fuel. I don't think tires are going to be a huge concern. Tire model on iRacing for road courses is still a little bit messy for stock cars. They tend not to wear at a very exceeding rate, or really at all for that matter. But I'll tell you, Peter, especially at a high-speed road course like this, the difference in weight from a full tank to one that's running on empty is pretty big. You definitely notice the difference. So if the drivers like the feeling of their car to be a little bit heavier, they are going to come down pit road a little bit sooner than they really need to, just so they can get that fuel in the car and get the handling back.
Bryce Hoffman has elected to come down pit road, so he's going to come down, get some 4 fresh tires. I am seeing about a 1.5 to 2 second fall off at this point of the run, Andre. So that might be enough where we see some of these drivers maybe do the undercut on one another, as Adam Newton stays out in the number 4. Philip Scott still tracking out there on the racetrack as we have now eclipsed the 1/3 race distance. Philip kind of on a Sunday drive through the forest, it seems, here in northern Italy. Closing in on the back bumper of Thad Miller, who would be going one lap down here, running in 7th right now. Christopher Pendel, 6th spot on pit road as we speak. I think Thad might have already come down and made a pit stop. Yes, indeed. Thad pitted on lap number 13. Christopher Pendel on pit road right now on lap number 14. So we're just starting to see that pit lane cycle work its way through. As we'll see if Philip Scott elects to come down pit road this time. It looks like he's peeling off as he's hugging the inside of the Parabolica nice and tight. And here comes your race leader.
He's going to come down pit road. He's got plenty of time. There's really no need to push yourself getting into the pits or risk speeding or risk missing your box. You could play it extremely conservative, and that's the advantage that you afford yourself when you build up a big lead on a stint like that. So he's going to take it easy down pit road, down into that first stall, which again is kind of an awkward place to pit. You see that white wall, concrete barrier in front of him. Not only is it right in front of him, but it then jets out to the left, right in front of where the pace car is. So you kind of got to swerve to the left and swing way wide to avoid hitting it. He does take tires left and right, and he's going to get out and away on pit road, maintaining his lead. Adam Newton having not yet pit, although I suspect when he gets to pit road this time, he will have to. Yes, there he is, the number 4. I don't think he could have made another lap on fuel. And as I always say at road courses, you do not want to run out of gas at a road course. You don't want to pull a Chase Elliott because it is going to be a long trip back to pit lane.
Yeah, that is always not good. On an oval, at least you can sometimes carry your momentum to get to your pit box, but on a road course, that is more than likely not going to happen. As Pendel all over the back bumper here of Thad Miller. Both of these drivers have pitted in the last 3 laps or so. So Pendel on 1 lap fresher tires. Then Thad Miller, getting all of that curb and then some, closing right up to the back bumper of the 81 as the back of the 81 starts to get a little bit sideways. Pendel using all the runoff there coming out of Ascari. Now they're going to come down the Parabolica. No, Pendel backs off. Wow, Pendel backed off a ton there, Andre. It's almost like no. There's contact. Pendel into the wall. And just as I was about to sing his praises, I wonder if something happened there. He kind of backed off so early in the straightaway and then left his braking. It might have just thrown him off.
I don't think that threw him off. I think what we're seeing is part 2 is something that we didn't see part 1 of, because it looked to me like he was kind of lining something up here. I don't know what he thought was going to happen there. If that wasn't intentional, I'm just kind of baffled because I have no clue what he thought the outcome might be, but that was really the only way going into the corner that deep was going to end with somebody to your outside. So just maybe some tempers flaring. I don't know. We'll take another look at it from the perspective of Thad Miller. See, he just gasses it up. I mean, that's a braking zone. He's on the throttle. Uncalled for. I didn't see anything between these two that would warrant that, and even if they had their differences, that's not the way to sort it out.
Well, let's see if we can go back just on board with Pendel maybe one more time. I wish we could bring up kind of the speed graphic here. Yeah, it does. I don't know. Unless he lost his brake pedal or something, it just doesn't. It did not seem right there. So
no.
I don't know. I mean, it's always possible he lost his brake pedal, but they do have one faster pair here now. That is one change that they have made here in the Stay Tuned Sports series, as the car count is a little bit. Oh, he's still struggling. He's in the grass in the inside wall there on fresh tires. At least I assume fresh tires. Maybe not. But Pendel's, after we've been saying he's been Mr. Consistency here tonight, not so much anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. He's on cold tires. That may be why he made that mistake. They may not be new tires. We're not sure. But he did take that toe to pit road, and that would give the tires plenty of time to cool down. And this track is very slick. I was talking to a couple of the drivers, and they basically told me that, yep, it's like you're driving on ice. It's a pregnant dump truck on ice. The car does not do what you want it to do. So when your tires are cold, that's just amplified. Here comes Leshinsky in the number 9 down into the first chicane, which in my opinion is definitely the most difficult of all of them. Just something about the angle of the exit is so tight. You get into that curve straight away and the long sweeping turn. Difficult portion of the track, but got to give props to Leshinsky. All the issues he's had today, Peter, and Both times. He's had two major mistakes that took him down outside the top 10. Both times clawed his way back up inside the top 5. And commentators curse, 3-wide TV ray gun, activate through the chicane, monster trucking goes Steven Lashinsky.
Yeah, I think we need to put some junked cars over there. Maybe you can start jumping over the cars from the junkyard or something. I mean, I don't know. Those curbs are tall enough that he probably could get some air if he hit them hard enough. But the Monster Jam number 9, currently sitting in the 5th position, about 10 seconds up the road from Thad Miller, but does find himself about a half minute behind Adam Newton, who is still kind of all by his lonesome. In fact, I gotta say, I think he's lost some time to Bryce Hoffman in this last round of pit stops. Not sure exactly why. Maybe it was the fact that he went one lap longer on that run, but for right now, Adam Newton solidly in 4th in the number 4 machine, at least for right now, not looking like he's going to go 4 for 4 in the win column this season, but he will for sure have the points lead after tonight with that strong start to the year.
And I think the difference might have been that he took tires. I'm just spitballing here. If he took tires, that'd be about a 4-second addition to his pit stop time compared to the cars ahead who did not take tires. And 4 seconds on pit road is a lot on track. It's more than just 4 seconds. So definitely may have contributed there, but we'll see if it was a move that plays out if he did take tires, or maybe he just had a mistake getting into the pits. It looked like it was all right. We did catch him going into the pits and didn't see any excessive speeding or brake lockup. So, just kind of theorizing here at this point, but still holding on to 4th place. And good news for him is, even though he may have lost time to the cars, which were already ahead, he's still got a comfortable gap back to Lashinsky. And by comfortable, I mean he could come down pit road and get a sandwich and then eat that sandwich and then pull out, and he'd still have a chance to fight with Lashinsky for position. So seeing some major field spread. Here's 2 cars that are not spread apart. Garrett Gleason and Paul Bilson. Now these are not for position. They are 1 and 8 laps down respectively. Bilson is just absolutely bad luck stricken tonight. He had a power outage. He had his steering wheel stop functioning. Not a good night, but he is back out on track. Absolutely tenacious to even continue on. I think at that point, if I had a power outage and then my steering wheel shut off, I would probably throw my hands up and say, okay, I get it, universe, you don't want me to race, but not Paul, man. He's out here for the points.
Here's William Ratcliffe, having some connection issues there, letting Christopher Pendel work his, not Christopher Pendel, I apologize, that was Steven Lashinsky, work his way on by. It does seem like Christopher Pendel has actually taken the number 94 off the racetrack. Not sure if he was asked to park or what, but Christopher Pendel has retired his race car here tonight. Just looking to see if, well, you know what, he might have had a moment. Let's see if we can figure out if Christopher Pendel had a problem that led to him parking it here tonight. Might have, might not have. I don't know if he's having some type of problem, or it definitely seems a little bit odd. He might have been having some technical problems in that number 94. But at least up at the front of the field, this man's not having any problems, Andre, as we're now in the back half of tonight's race. 16 laps to go here for race number 4 of the National Sim Racing Association Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Series. Xfinity Series, B-Car Series, B-Class Series, whatever you want to call it. Philip Scott making his league, maybe not league debut, but at least series debut here tonight. Was a fixture in our Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series last season and multiple seasons prior to that. Got multiple wins to his name on road courses included. And for here tonight, he's definitely showing that road course skill here as they twist their way left and right.
Yeah, it's not really surprising to me that somebody was a breakaway talent, because anytime you come to a combo like this, Xfinity car at Monza, you just don't do that. Nobody really has any experience with this. But if you're that guy, if you're the one guy who, for whatever reason, has raced this car at this track, or you just tend to be particularly good at combos like this, even if you don't necessarily have experience with this specific combo, that is going to be a huge advantage. It's not like going to Kansas or Martinsville or anywhere else where everybody races every weekend and they know exactly what they're doing. This is uncharted territory for most, but if you've already got it charted out, well, the result is apparently going to be a 43.1 second lead.
Yeah, definitely seems to be growing as well. We did have Christopher Pendel join us in the 3Y TV chat. Looks like he's taking the 94 to the garage. Said he didn't mean to wreck Thad. Just Thad said to go to the inside and kind of caught him out and just got into him there in the corner. He apologized. So I think it was just the combination of maybe backed up the corner and then thought about trying to get to the inside of the car in front of him a little bit too late, and just a couple of things snowballing there off into the Parabolica, but good to see an apology in the chat. Thad Miller still out there on the racetrack running in 6th.
And I can respect that. That is the best thing you can do. Everybody makes mistakes. Obviously, when I saw that, I definitely thought it looked a little bit intentional, but if you make a mistake like that, if something happens, if you own up to it and apologize for it, that's about the best thing you can do. And I don't know how Thad's feeling about it, but I know that big issues in front of Thad there. But I know that when something like that happens to me, if I'm on the receiving end, I might be really angry at first. But all it takes is that, hey man, I messed up and I'm sorry, and then I'm over it. It's like, okay, we're good. So glad to see it, and sorry that the 94 was not having the night he was hoping to have, but. Yeah, Thad Miller's still out on track, P6 right now. He's about a minute 48 back, so he's not too awful far from going a lap down. Going on board through the first chicane with Bryce Hoffman. You can still see that 29, but the whole race, McKee's just been getting a little bit further away, even with the slight mistakes and slight penalties that McKee has accrued. The gap now between these two, 3.5 seconds. So McKee very comfortable in second place. Going to be a good point stay for the 29 if you can keep that up.
Yeah, Brent McKee needs a good run. Didn't have a great run back at iRacing Super Speedway, and has been struggling a little bit with the solid results and staying consistent. But here tonight, definitely showing he's got some road course skill. 4 drivers in this field, Andre, are considered Class A drivers on road courses. Those 4 drivers who are Class A on road courses just so happen to be our top 4 drivers out there here tonight, as Philip Scott, Brendan Key, Bryce Hoffman, and Adam Newton are those 4 drivers. And then Stephen Lashinsky and Paul Bilson are 2 B-Class drivers on road course here tonight. Of course, Lashinsky running there in 5th. And then you have Thad Miller, William Ratcliffe, our 2 C-Class drivers. And then behind the 2 C-Class drivers, you got our rookie driver, Garrett Gleason, and Christopher Pendel's Class B. So it's interesting to see that the drivers that have raced road courses more often in the iRacing.com simulator, well, it's showing on the scoring pile in there on the left-hand side. So the drivers that have more practice on road, they're definitely shining here tonight.
Yeah, it's just such a different beast from oval racing. And obviously in real life, oval and road are very different. But for whatever reason, and it could just be placebo, I don't know, but I've always felt like the difference between them was kind of exaggerated in sim. I always felt like the handling characteristics of a stock car on the road course felt nothing like the handling characteristics on an oval circuit, as if they just had completely different grip levels. They drove entirely different. You go to a track like Martinsville, it's a very slow corner exit. You're down to 70-ish miles an hour in the corner, and when you come out of that corner, you can get on the throttle pretty hard. The wheel spin is pretty minimal, but here at these road courses, man, you could be going 120 and it seems like you still get wheel spin. So being able to have that throttle control and braking control that you learn from road course racing in sim is a huge advantage. And I know since we're on board with Bryce Hoffman, I'll tell you something he told me before the race. He said he took his brake spring, which is generally a little bit more firm because you don't need to be quite as precise with the brakes in stock cars, and he put it under his gas pedal so that he wouldn't get on the throttle too hard and spin his tires. So that should tell you a little thing about the handling of these cars.
Yeah, it definitely is a different beast, and you have to watch both pedals. You have to watch the brake pedal. You have to watch the gas pedal as well. You don't want to spin your tires coming out of the corner because that wears your tires faster. You don't want to brake too hard because then you spin out. It really is balancing all of the weight through all of the corners. Getting that weight to the right tire to get grip, getting that power down, maintaining the grip level. Really, I think the best way to describe it is these tires have a finite amount of grip. A portion of that grip is used to help turn the car, a portion of that grip is to help accelerate the car. And so if you kind of exceed the limit by doing both of those at the wrong time and together, well, you're going to be ending up inside the wall or in the outside wall, one of those two. And Jimbo Casterline found that out. He said, well, at least you didn't flip on the racetrack like me. Jimbo, I have to say, wasn't expecting to see that here tonight, especially not where it happened either. But unfortunately, the number 18 on pit road and has been on pit road for quite some time, even though you did have a faster pair on pit road, Jimbo. RC Planes in the chat saying not too surprised Philip Scott's out there with a 50-second lead. Yeah, Philip has been kind of laying it on him here tonight at Monza. As Bryce Hoffman, you've been kind of watching that number there in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, Andre. It's kind of seesawed a little bit back and forth, and now at about 2.5 seconds. He's still running pretty equal lap times last time by. In fact, we'll bring up the graphic there at the top of the screen. There it goes, it updates. You can kind of see last time by, Bryce Hoffman was about 0.6 of a second faster than McKee. So he's definitely moving in as, this is interesting. What? I mean, we are live. Yeah, we are live. I just got a pop-up that said Brent McKee crashed. But that's not true. He didn't crash. This was on lap number 22. And yeah, a little bit of a lockup. That's what that was enough to say that he crashed, as he I think it registers when they get below maybe 10-15 miles an hour, and that was enough to do it.
But I'll tell you what, that does show the experience that McKee has on road courses. When he locked those tires up, he very easily could have kept the brake pedal pushed down, and he would have slid clear to that inside sausage curb. But he did the smart thing. He let off the brakes, let the tires roll, and gain grip. Here comes Bryce Hoffman down pit road for his final stop of the race, kicking off round 2 for most everybody. 12 to go at this point. But yeah, it's a tough thing to train yourself to do, Peter, because it's so counterintuitive. Oh no, I'm going too fast. I'm going to miss the corner. Instinctively, you want to push the brake in even harder, but that's just going to make you slide further. You need to let off that brake, let the brake roll a little bit just so that you're maintaining some grip. And that's exactly what he did. So good, quick thinking saved him from a potential time cut, which with how close Bryce Hoffman was getting at that point, if he had to serve a time penalty, a stop and go right there, I think that would have been close enough to bring Bryce into the fray. So very, very good save and quick thinking out of McKee.
Yeah, that definitely was. Now, we did see Bryce Hoffman come down pit road. He's going to try the undercut here. That means he's going to pit sooner than the 29, going to have slightly fresher tires. Well, not slightly, but much fresher tires for one lap. And then Brent McKee's likely going to come down pit road this time to cover, to try and prevent that undercut from being any more significant, because Hoffman will be faster on those fresher tires just for a lap or two until McKee comes down onto pit road, and that can make all the difference in passing someone out there on the racetrack, as McKee hurdling his way through the Ascari curves. Now onto at least what I consider the backstretch, although you might consider this racetrack to have like 3 or 4 back straights with the way it is, but you head down into the Parabolica. Now let's see if McKee heads onto pit road like we expect him to, hugging that inside line, getting a little bit sideways, still hugging it. Yep, I think that no. Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, I was with you there, Peter. I really thought he was coming down.
He had me fooled. But also who had me fooled was this driver right here. He had me fooled that he knew where the racetrack was, because it obviously he doesn't. Let's see what happened here to Garrett Gleason on board with the Cummins Care number 7.
Well, let me tell you this. Garrett Gleason, he doesn't need your racetrack. He makes his own. Look at this. Why go around? You know, you got to slow down. You got to turn right. Look, you go straight through the grass. It's just easier. And Coleman's care, lawn care. He's just cutting the grass. He's seen it was a few inches out of whack. Somebody changed the deck height when they mowed that part of the track, and he had to correct it.
Well, the thing is, we'll just pause it right here. You see those cones down there, a little bit further down this? You're supposed to kind of zigzag your way through those cones, Garrett. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to slalom your way through to make yourself back on. But Garrett's like, you know what? Yeah, now there's grass. That's too difficult. That doing all that jargon right there. That's too difficult. And just got his way on through. Made his own track, like you said, Andre. Still out there in the number 7, running in 8th now, behind William Ratcliffe. Garrett has made his second pit stop of the night. Let's see, though, if our race leader is going to come down pit road here shortly. Still Philip Scott running on his older tires. He's still out there on the racetrack, just coming through turn number 3 or so. Coming now into this slow portion of the racetrack before they come to the Lesmos. Now, Andre, the way I remember these corners here is they're the Lesmos 1 and 2, and I've always thought less is mo here at these corners because you kind of have to back them up, and then you kind of have to give it a little bit less on entry, and then that allows you to really straighten up the exit, really put the power down. And you got this long straightaway right here. So coming out of the second Lesmo, less is mo.
Yeah, definitely want to take a slow in, fast out approach and take it a little bit conservative on the entry because that speed's going to carry all the way down into this chicane, which, man, oh man, such a unique set of corners. Very fun if you get it right. It is unlike any other set of corners that I've seen on a road course. And if you get it right, it is just very satisfying, very fun. If you get it wrong, not so satisfying, not so fun, frustrating, in fact. But so far, everybody able to get through there pretty cleanly. We do have a 3-wide TV replay. See exactly what happened to Steven Lashinsky in that number 9, coming in a little bit hot into the final corner, up onto the rumble strip, then back down. Nothing too bad. I don't think he even really lost too much time there, so he's going to hold on to 4th place for now. Now, when he pits, I believe Adam Newton's going to get back around him for 4th. But nonetheless, still a solid drive back up through the field for the driver who's made a few mistakes. And, speaking of getting better and learning throughout the course of the race, Lashinsky, other than that little bit of a bobble right there, which I would not consider to be a grave error at all, he's definitely cut down on the mistakes. It's been a while since we've seen anything significant out of him. He's just put his head down. He's clicking off some pretty good consistent laps, and we get a little bit of a feel for the track here.
Yeah, definitely that number 9 has been able to minimize those mistakes here in the back half of the race after what was a pretty tumultuous opening 15 laps or so. We've still seen him hop the curb a little bit too much, but for right now, Lashinsky finding himself on the verge of going 1 lap down. He does have our race leader closing in behind him. So Lashinsky, who has yet to make his second pit stop, with Philip Scott also yet to make his second pit stop. But someone's making their second pit stop right now, and that is Brent McKee coming down into his pit crew. The crew will go to work. Left side's going on. Maybe right side's here momentarily. So getting that final set of Goodyear tires to make it to the checkered flag here at Monza as we're inside 10 laps to go. We'll make it 8 to go this time by. I think it's only a 3.6 mile racetrack, Andre, which is a little bit interesting. Only at 3.6 miles. It seems maybe sometimes a little bit longer than that, but it is a pretty quick racetrack with these long straights.
Yeah, definitely a very high-speed track. You would think that a track of this distance would have lap times definitely in excess of 2 minutes, but with just the 3 very long straightaways and a few quick corners, it's not a slow track at all. Now, I should point out, in that pit sequence, the undercut did work for Bryce Hoffman, at least for the moment. He's 7 seconds up on Brent McKee. He's in second place now, so definitely an improvement. Now, the problem here is he's on older tires than McKee. McKee has shown himself to be more consistent than Bryce Hoffman, And he's got 8 whole laps, which is going to be about 16 minutes of racing to try to close that gap. I think it's more than doable, Peter. So we may have an interesting battle for position on our hands if he kind of continues this pace that we've seen before. And look at that. That was a beautiful corner. 2 tires in the grass, just hooked the curb, slingshotting out of the corner. And he cut down in that corner. You saw the gap. He was a 10th quicker than Bryce Hoffman. So that was really impressive. I don't think he could do that every time, but 60% of the time, you can do it 100% of the time.
That's how statistics work, surprisingly.
Exactly.
And that's the type of statistics we have here on 3 Wide TV. They're top-notch statistics. As, just under 6 seconds between Bryce Hoffman and Brent McKee with 8 laps to go. Hoffman's really going to have to pull out all the stops if he wants to hold on to the runner-up position here tonight. And, of course, we say that, but there is absolutely no guarantee that Philip Scott can keep the right side up. We've seen it happen to Jimbo Casterline here tonight where he turtled the number 18 machine, and could happen to Philip Scott. Stranger things have happened as we still are waiting for him to make his second pit stop as he flashes on by the start-finish line once again. Now, interestingly enough here, Andre, the start line and the finish line are at different locations on this racetrack. That's an interesting feature that you don't often see in stock cars. You see it in kind of Formula One and other road course series, but in NASCAR you don't often see it. But turn one is the start line is a little bit down towards turn one than the finish line. The finish line is kind of outside of the parabolica. In fact, we'll see if maybe we can go on board with one of these drivers as they head to the start-finish line this next time by. See Brent McKee continuing to close in, now down to under 3 seconds. Holy cow. Not sure if something bad happened to Bryce Hoffman, but McKee is on a mission here.
Yeah, again, we've seen time and time again, McKee is deadly consistent. He doesn't really make that many mistakes. So, and when he does make mistakes, they're typically minor, and he's able to correct it pretty quickly. Whereas Bryce Hoffman, I think, again, he can hot lap a little bit quicker than Brent, but he's not doing those lap times every single lap, and that's allowing Brent McKee to close in, slow and steady, wins the race, as he said, under 2 seconds now. We've seen him pass Bryce once. He's just going to have to try to do it again. The only thing is, it might be a little bit difficult the second time because, look, you passed the guy the first time. He doesn't know what tricks you got up your sleeve. He doesn't know. Oh, man, the way you tilted that camera made me think he was getting loose. Maybe he is, I don't know. But a little bit squirrely out of the corner. But, when you go to pass a guy the second time, well, now he knows how you're going to do it. And you got to try to maybe trip him up a little bit, do something different, change up your style, because as these guys race together, they learn each other's driving styles, their tactics, their tricks. And now Bryce might be a little bit more defensive as in front of them. We've got a car off the track. That's going to be Thad Miller, I believe. Nope, that is going to be the 95 machine, I apologize, there is no 95 on the scoring pylon. Oh yeah, Ratcliffe, my bad. So Ratcliffe having a bit of an off-track excursion. He is currently 2 laps down, but able to stay out of the way of the leaders. He had a very safe re-entry, which is generally something that, as simple as it sounds, if you don't do much road course racing, sometimes you don't really think about looking around and just making sure you get a good re-entry, but he did a good job of it. Now through the Lesmos, I guess you call them. Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2, and McKee is on the move. Maybe less isn't more because he is closing this gap big time.
Yeah, he was absolutely awesome through the second Lesmo there. Able to hook that inside of the racetrack just like he did a little while ago. Like you mentioned, Andre, you said he did a really good job. Well, he did it again. Brought it down once again inside of 2 seconds, now down to about 1.5 seconds as Hoffman runs wide into Ascari, and that's going to bring McKee pretty much to the back bumper of the number 21 as Hoffman struggling to get the power down in the back of the Liquid Death machine. Maybe, just maybe, those tires are having a Liquid Death themselves.
Yeah, and that was always going to be the struggle. I mentioned it as soon as we saw Bryce take the undercut. He's going to have fresher tires for a little bit, and it helped him make the pass. But look at that. He is just squirrely all over the track. He can't hold on to that thing. This is going to be the pass for McKee. He's going to move down low, preferred line into the chicane, at least the first corner of the chicane. Side by side, Bryce is going to have to try to pinch him here if he wants to be aggressive, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's struggling with the handling enough that he's probably just going to concede that position, and he does. Maybe back to the rear bumper and up into second, Brent McKee. So the story we've seen all night long now continuing to be written. But like I said, those old tires are a huge disadvantage because the grip levels here at Monza are pretty much nil. Very little grip, and if somebody's got just a tick more than you, well, that's the difference right there.
Yeah, then, wow, Hoffman's still struggling with the 21 machine. Meanwhile, our Harpoon Designs Pole Award winner earlier in the show, Philip Scott, on pit road in that first pit stall right there. He's going to be back on the loud pedal coming out of that pit box. And clean racetrack around the number 99 here with 5 more laps to go. He's got 5 laps to really give us all he's got. Maybe try and get the best lap of the race in. It's a 153.6 right now by Philip Scott. Not sure when that was turned, whether that was early in the race or not, but he's got an opportunity here to really run it at full speed and as best as he can. So we'll see whether or not that happens here momentarily as Brent McKee flashes on by down off towards the Parabolica. Starting to get a little bit of ground between himself, a little bit of breathing room out back with Bryce Hoffman there. But at least for Bryce Hoffman, speaking of breathing room, there's a ton of breathing room back to Steven Lashinsky, who has yet to make his second pit stop. And you're also starting to see the PPG number 4 machine of Adam Newton creep into the picture here, but we don't think that Lashinsky can make it the rest of the race on fuel. So Lashinsky will likely be on pit road here momentarily, but at least for right now, he holds on to 4th, Newton in 5th.
Yeah, so Newton very likely going to move up into 4th once the number 9 does take his pit stop, which is pretty much where he's been running all night long, but a huge gap to the cars ahead from Lashinsky and Newton. It is almost, a little over a minute to from Hoffman to Newton, but yeah, just massive separation here. But either way, still a good points day. Like you said, Adam Newton is going to be leaving this track with the points lead, and he's got such a big cushion. That's really all he's got to do at this point is just keep bringing home solid top 5 finishes. He doesn't need to worry about having any standout performances or winning every single race. I mean, he's got 3 wins in the bank. Some of these guys that are running up front and getting points have not been here for every single race, so very comfortable cushion. And I'm sure right about now he's probably pretty glad he's got it, as you know, this road course has not been as kind to him as the ovals have. But to his credit, you know, he said last week in his interview he's not much of a road racer, had no idea what to expect, but well, if you can come into a track like this blind and not think of yourself really as a road racer and still get a top 5, well, that's just some natural talent, and it seems like that's what he's got.
Yeah, that's not a bad race. You know, there's only one road course on the schedule, and that is here tonight. So if you're not a road course racer, you get to scratch this one off and then go next week to an oval again, live and maybe breathe a little bit easier after that one. But speaking of next week, we go to the short track, Andre. We go to Richmond International Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. Well, he's just outside Richmond, Virginia. 3/4 mile short track. We expect to see a lot of short track action. We've seen a little bit of short track action at Worldwide Technology Park last week. We've seen a little bit of short track action even at iRacing Super Speedway. At least it felt that way with all the accidents we had there. But hopefully next week at Richmond we put on a good show, and looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good time for sure. I could definitely say that Richmond is one of the more interesting short tracks, just because on iRacing especially, it tends to be one of the more difficult ones to drive. I've always said a track that is difficult to drive just generally puts on the best show. So looking forward to it. I also want to mention Paul Bilson in the chat said power went out again. So he just called it quits, pulled it behind the wall. It was a valiant effort. Look, power went out twice, his steering wheel shut off, and he still tried to get it done at least. But Garrett Gleason look, I know your sponsor is Komen Care, and you're doing the whole contracting thing and then the lawn care and everything. You don't have to rake the sand. Clearly we got workers out there raking the sand already. Every time we go by, those tire tracks are gone. So somebody is out there raking the sand while we're green flag racing, which props to that guy. He's got to be very brave. But he saw this sand, thought maybe it could use a little bit of leveling, and out he goes. You see that flick of the wheel. In all reality, jokes aside, that was a very good save. He was incredibly sideways there, and the fact that he was able to get that straightened out and then rejoin here for the second Lesmo, not a bad recovery.
See, he's probably just disappointed that I have the software that I can go back and play
And showcase this stuff.
Showcase this stuff, and that's exactly what the number 7 machine.
Oh my goodness! Philip Scott has disconnected. So says Jimbo.
What?
Oh my goodness! So Brent McKee, from a minute back, it's going to be a while before he gets the lead. He was a minute back. But Brent McKee is going to be the provisional leader unless Philip Scott can.
Have you ever?
No, I've never. Wow.
Now, Jimbo, in the chat, was it an intentional disconnect? Was it just an issue with his internet that he fell through? I mean, what happened? That is.
I am baffled.
I am baffled as well. I'm just looking to see if Philip Scott is in the chat or in the Discord. I don't see his name anywhere. But
it says manually disconnected. Wow.
Well, that's a shocker. I mean, life happens. And
that is going to move Adam Newton onto the podium, by the way. So the podium streak, at least, the winning streak is going away, but a podium streak continues to live on because of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to see. I'm just going to have to go back to Philip Scott and see if just maybe I can figure out, anything that might have happened. I don't see anything on my end. But we kind of mentioned it, Andre, that I guess it's not really over till it's over. We've seen stranger things happen. I mean, we did see Jimbo on his roof here tonight. But let's see if we can see anything. Let's see if we can go back to the 3-wide TV replay. He's coming up here. I think this is turn number 2 or 3.
Yeah, so he's in that long sweeping right.
And then boof.
That's weird. And now I don't see how that could be a manual disconnect because iRacing requires your car to be stopped to back out to the menu. If that was a manual disconnect, that would be an Alt F4, but I don't know if an Alt F4 actually registers as manual disconnect. Maybe somebody more familiar with iRacing could tell me, but that is the only way you could leave the session that quick at speed while the car is moving, is to hit Alt F4 or just shut off your computer. And I don't see why he would do either of those. I don't see how he could Alt F4. He was driving through a corner, steering the car as it disconnected. Alt F4 is not an easy combination to hit, especially when you got a steering wheel in front of you. So I'm a little bit confused as to why it says manually disconnected. Something tells me that some sort of hardware failure, maybe the game crashed, maybe his computer shut off. Wow. Nonetheless, Brent McKee now with a 5.6 second lead is looking to take home a very unexpected win.
Yeah, number 29 in McKee probably going to be scratching his head over this one and all the madness. We are just one lap away from seeing the checkered, well, just about one lap away from seeing the checkered flag, as white flag will come out here this time. And I'm trying to do some extracurriculars on my end to see if I can get in touch with Philip Scott and see what on earth just happened. I mean, Jimbo in the chat has the memory of an elephant and says, hey, this similar thing happened to JT Poole a couple of seasons ago here in the Stay Tuned Sports, back when it was a truck series, when his computer lost connection on the final lap. And I think he was the race leader at that point. So very similar thing here tonight as the white flag is in the air. Number 29 machine of McKee working his way through turn number 1 for the final time tonight. Good job working through 1 and 2, about a 7-second gap over Bryce Hoffman here. So just got to keep it nice and clean.
In the Discord, Philip Scott said tornado warning. And I believe warning means the tornado has touched down. The watch is when it hasn't touched down, and the warning is when it has. So hopefully everything's all right with Philip Scott, but that would appear to be the reason he alt F4'd out of the session. Stay safe to him and anybody else facing weather issues. We know Paul Bilson having his power go out several times due to some ongoing storms on the eastern seaboard. But in the meantime, white flag in the air through the second Lesmo. A little bit loose for the 29. Now's not the time to make those kind of mistakes, but a big gap to second place, Bryce Hoffman. He is going to go down this long straightaway, downhill, uphill, everything in between. Then the final chicane, just quick left, right, left. Easier said than done, but through this set of corners, still not taking it easy. 7-second lead still just going through there flat out. And now one more trip down the former longest straightaway in F1 into the sweeping right-hander. And here at Monza, the only road course on the schedule, blue flag menace Brent McKee shows some dominating consistency, and through a little bit of luck is going to take a checkered flag here in Italy.
That number 29 machine, you know what? A Red Bull wins. I've seen this before. If you've been watching Formula One this season, they have yet to lose a race this year. And number 29 Red Bull machine in victory lane. But yeah, definitely want to say to Philip Scott to stay safe there, buddy. Yeah, there is definitely a tornado warning in Michigan. Just pulled it up on my phone, and that's Philip Scott's neck of the woods. Is McKee gonna burn it down off towards turn number 1? No other real battles for position. Here comes Adam Newton, who will extend his points lead just a little bit after this result tonight.
I will say McKee's got to be careful here because the race is not technically over. You don't want to rack up incident points right now and get DQ'd because until a few more drivers cross the line, that all counts.
Yeah, I don't think they run with an incident point limit here in NSRA, but if they did, wouldn't that be something if he got himself disqualified? Here comes Steven Lashinsky coming across the start-finish line, or at least the finish line here. As described earlier, they're slightly different, as Thad Miller in 5th. I think the last car on the lead lap after everything all shakes out will be the last car to come across the start-finish line. I'm used to saying start-finish line. It's not the same thing here. Trips me up. As Miller works his way through the parabolica.
Yeah, Thad Miller, definitely an up and down night, but running out of top 5 is not a bad points day for the driver of the 81. So he's going to come to the stripe. He's about 40 seconds behind Lashinsky. And the only drivers now who have not finished are the drivers that are out of the race. So that is going to be the checkered flag. And now Brent McKee, if he hasn't already pulled it off, is now more free to comfortably celebrate that win. But man, oh man, you know, it's not over till it's over, and we said that earlier. I just don't think any of us expected that to happen quite the way it did. Nonetheless, we do have some post-race interviews lined up. I don't know if you want to take it away with third here, Peter, Adam Newton, but he's waiting.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out on my end if our race winner is even here, Brent McKee. I do not see him actually in the kind of the Discord channels, so we'll see hopefully if he joins here tonight. But Yeah, we're going to get our top three, well, hopefully our top three finishers, but at least third place. Let's start with here tonight. The driver that we've talked to a lot this season, that's Adam Newton, but usually it's in victory lane. But Adam Newton, Peter Short, 3 wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Well, it's not victory lane. You didn't go 4 in the number 4, but it's still a very strong night. Coming home in third. We thought you were going to finish fourth there until Philip Scott got a tornado warning and had to run away, run into safety. But Adam, nonetheless, strong run for you. Talk us through your race tonight.
All I know is I need to sell all of my equipment and get what Philip's running because I do not understand how he had that kind of control over his car. My car sucked. Couldn't get no heat in the tires. Sliding. I'm glad I got third. Hate that he didn't get to win the race because he killed everybody. I don't know how them guys in front, were doing it, but I just didn't feel comfortable with what I was driving.
It definitely looked like a handful out there for a lot of drivers. We saw some drivers really struggle in the opening 5 to 10 laps. But Adam, it seemed like you at least were able to keep it mostly on the black stuff here tonight and kind of work your way through that. I know you did get some practice lap time or laps out there. How do you think that factored into your race tonight?
From what I did earlier, I don't know if the room was a little bit different, but it just didn't. Even in practice, the car just didn't feel like it was in the track at all. I was telling my teammate, well, when I talked to our tire temperatures were only 184. It just never built up heat to get any grip.
Yeah, it definitely seems like on the lower side, but I know Andre alongside of me was saying that these NASCAR road course tires here in the iRacing.com simulator just have not been right for the past probably year, if not year and a half. And I wonder if that was one of the reasons you felt that way here tonight. But nonetheless, we go from Monza in Italy with all the pasta and the pizza to Richmond, Virginia next week, 3/4 mile short track. What are your thoughts of that short track?
Hopefully, I'll be back in my element next week. Hopefully, I like Richmond. Good track. Should be good show.
Yeah, looking forward to it here on 3YTV. Before we let you go, any shout outs you'd like to give out?
Thank y'all for doing the broadcast. Jimmo, Tom, Miss Justin tonight. I know how he loves road courses. And everybody watching at home, and congrats to Brett on his first win.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, we'll let you go, and we'll see you again next week in a more customary race for the NSRA at Richmond. Good luck, bud.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for tonight's third place finisher, and I believe that Andre Grandbush has caught up with tonight's runner-up, Bryce Hoffman.
Bryce Hoffman, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, Bryce, it's a second step on the podium after a long race here at Monza. Had a pretty good battle going on with Brett McKee for most of the race, but I think what neither of you guys expected was that might be the battle for the win after a late disconnect from the race leader kind of turned that on its head. Tell me a little bit about your race.
Well, I'd be lying if I said I was happy. I fought the car the whole race. I won't lie. I mean, if you saw the 2 to go run through the grass, I kept the tires cool at least.
Yeah, it just seemed like everybody was struggling with the handling, but we did notice that 21 was getting a little bit squirrely out of the corners, especially the high-speed corners. Seemed like it just wasn't none of these cars were having it in the high-speed corners. So a little bit rough, but overall, we did notice that you got a bit of an undercut, which allowed you to get ahead of Brent McKee, at least for a little while. That's the first time for me personally that I've seen tires actually matter at a road course. What is it about Monza that was kind of wearing these tires?
So most of Monza is first gear exit, which is terrible for these tires. Whatever iRacing has for the B-class car, it just fries them. And as soon as you get the tires hot, they're screwed. And I noticed after about 9 laps, the tires get even worse. So I figured if Brent was going to try and go long, if I would undercut him and do less than 9 laps, I could get a big gap. I actually ended up getting 8 seconds, and it helped, but driver errors kind of killed it.
So next week we're going to Richmond, which is nothing like Monza. High bank, short track. How do you feel about doing some short track racing?
I think I'm going to like that a lot more than this road course stuff. I need to get back to what I know.
Yeah, definitely not the first one to say that. But either way, a solid performance up on the podium for your league debut. Congratulations on that. Before we let you go, is there any shout-outs you'd like to make?
No, I'd like to thank you guys for the broadcast, but other than that, that's all I got.
All righty. Thanks for your time, Bryce. Second place finisher out of the booth, and now I believe Peter Schwartz has caught up with our race winner. This is the first time I've seen him in Discord at all, but here he is.
Yeah, Brent McKee finally making it to victory lane after an extended burnout here. But wow, Brent, what a shocker there at the end. Philip Scott disconnecting, letting you inherit the race lead with just 3 laps to go or thereabouts. Little did you know that battle with Bryce Hoffman with about 7 laps to go would be the battle for the win here tonight. Talk us through your night in the Red Bull machine, winning in F1 on the road courses, winning in NASCAR on the road courses as well.
Yeah, I actually come from a road racing background, really, so this is kind of easy for me. Yeah, Bryce gave me a challenge. His pit stop strategy was pretty good. He got ahead of me in the last couple of laps, and I thought he had me, but I was like, I put the hammer down, and I got ahead of him. Little did I know that Scott was going to, I guess disconnect maybe. I'm not sure really what happened there, but I didn't know until after I started looking at the relative and it turned into 1, so pretty happy.
Yeah, Philip Scott under a tornado warning in Michigan is the reason why he decided to bail here tonight. But
oh, that's a good reason. He really deserved the win. He definitely had way more pace than I ever would have. But I had little practice tonight, so I'm still happy with the win. I think it's going to put me back up in the higher points in the championship. So.
Yeah, you'll be marching on up the standings, that's for sure. I mean, it's been a little bit of a rocky start to the season for you. How important is it to kind of get this road course in, something that you are familiar with, and then kind of mount your charge before we move on to the chase late this season?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to put more time into it now that I got back up there with everybody else. So, oval's not really my thing, but I think I can put some practice in and stay out of trouble. I should be all right.
Absolutely. Next week we go to Richmond International Raceway, 3/4 mile short track. What are your thoughts of that racetrack?
I'm not too familiar with it, to be honest with you, but I am usually pretty good. If it's similar to like Las Vegas maybe, or something a little shorter, that's fine. I know how to use my brakes, so we should be all right.
Definitely one where you have to watch the back end of the car as you carry a lot of speed off into the corners when you get on those brakes, but plenty of brake will be used at Richmond, that is for sure. Brent, congratulations on your first win here in the National Sim Racing Association. I know you got some shout-outs, so let's hear them.
All right, shout out to Thad Miller. He's the one who got me started in this league, man, and that's about it, man. I've had a good time here with y'all, and looking forward to the next race.
All right, we'll let you go celebrate your first win here tonight, and we'll see you again next week. Keep that momentum up, bud.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our post-race interviews here tonight with Brent McKee, our race winner, Bryce Hoffman, runner-up, and Adam Newton finishing in third. The good news for all you folks wondering about Philip Scott is that storm is at least moving very, very quickly. So I do think that he'll probably be away from Philip. We'll try and get in contact with him after it is all said and done. Hopefully everything A-okay up in his neck of the woods. But Andre, we knew this race was going to be a little bit interesting with just the fact of how different of a racetrack it is. But didn't really expect that outcome the way it came.
No, I don't think any of us could have predicted that, but big props to everybody who showed up tonight. I know, a lot of the times in these NASCAR leagues, you go to the road courses and you see some fall off in attendance, but a lot of these guys, they showed up. They might not be road course aces. They might not even really know the track, but they showed up, they raced it out, and they put on a fun show. Final results: Brent McKee, Bryce Hoffman, Adam Newton, Steven Lashinsky, Thad Miller, Garrett Gleason. He's probably the only driver that can do some lawn care and finish inside the top 10, all in the same sweep. William Ratcliffe in the 95 finishes P7. Philip Scott dominates the race, has over a minute lead, and then unfortunate disconnect is going to bring him down to 8th. Again, stay safe, Philip. Hopefully the tornado warning passes quickly. Christopher Pendell in 9th, and Paul Bilson going to round out your top 10 after also experiencing weather issues. Tom Lester is going to bring it home in 11th, 26 laps down. And we're not going to forget him, last but not least, Jimbo Casterline, with probably the only single stock car flip in the history of Monza. Going to bring it home 12th.
At least on the road course. I have seen plenty of drivers flip on the Monza Oval. Let me say that much. Especially that Super Speedway League race that we had here a couple of seasons ago that had me in absolute stitches at the end of it. But if you have not seen that finish, I think we even have a 3-wide TV short video here on YouTube of that finish where I could not breathe. I was laughing so hard. I couldn't even call the run to the finish. I had Mitchell Adams alongside of me and in the booth, and he had to take the call to the checkered flag because I absolutely could not breathe. It was that chaotic. But here tonight, another wild one. Man, Monza. I think we need to keep it on the schedule, whether it's the oval or the road course, because it always seems to be kind of unpredictable. And as a lot of these NSRA races are, you have to stay tuned all the way to the checkered flag to figure out who's going to be the winner. And there's nothing better than that here on 3-Wide TV. Want to give a huge shout out to our series sponsors, of course, HarpoonDesigns.com and Stay Tuned Sports themselves. HarpoonDesigns.com will be sponsoring next week's Harpoon Designs 200 at Richmond. We're looking forward to that one for sure. But Andre, any final thoughts on tonight's race?
Yeah, no, I think we've pretty much said it all, but it was an unexpected event. And like you said, with the STRS, you just never really know what's going to happen until that checkered flag flies. But I do know that Richmond next week is going to be some more traditional oval racing. And again, always puts on a good show. I'm looking forward to it. We're looking forward to seeing the league grow and put on some good races. And I think we're well on our way.
Absolutely. So, folks, stay safe and all that good stuff. And when you do have those tornado warnings come your way, take them seriously and do what Philip Scott did, even if it does mean you're not going to win a virtual stock car event, which really doesn't mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. But we have a lot of fun doing it. I know Philip Scott probably had a lot of fun out there on the racetrack tonight as well. But like I said, stay safe and all of that good stuff. And we shall see ya.